I think there's fireworks going off. Do you hear that? It's either fireworks or it's cannons.
I thought maybe it was just like a garbage bin getting rolled down the street.
Oh, you thought so?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he was getting all worked up about it.
Oh, sorry, dog. Well, hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura, and I am joined by my co-host Ryan.
Hello.
Hey, Ryan. I am...
Or no, or as I should say it. Hello.
Oh, hello. I don't think I can do that. We're not going to do this entire episode in a Russian accent.
Okay.
All right, you do it.
I can try. Oh, dear.
Do you want to have a Russian name? Do you want to make up a Russian name for yourself?
No. I think we're going to be very careful about what we say in this podcast episode.
Okay.
Just purely because, Russian gangsters are fucking scary. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And the Russian gangsters that we're going to be talking about today are in the 2007 drama/gangster film Eastern Promises, starring Viggo Mortensen, Naomi Watts, Vincent Cassel, and there's other people in this movie too.
Yeah.
But it was directed by David Cronenberg.
Yeah, you missed out a slash. Slash Christmas movie.
My God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me start again. It's
because I can hear the sleigh bells like it's December.
The Christmas / drama / gangster film.
Yeah. Like if Viggo pretended he was Santa, but he was playing the character he's playing in Eastern Promises, puts a cigarette out on his tongue.
Yeah.
And starts handing out presents to all the little children.
Yeah, and the presents are little tips of gangster fingers.
Probably, yeah. What is not Christmassy more than a gangster snipping off a dead man's fingers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it really warms my heart when I see that.
Yeah, and that and all the vodka.
All of the straight vodka.
Yeah. Well, how do you...
Right out of the bottle.
Yeah, no one mixes vodka, do
Just
they?
like Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, pretty much. Why dilute it all and have to go to the toilet twice as many times where you can just get straight to the methanol and just drink it all in one go? And it gets to your destination quicker.
Yeah, especially when it's during the holidays.
Yes.
You really want to just drive
when
it
it's
right
the holidays,
home.
Yeah, I mean, when it gets to the end of the year, you really want to just drive yourself into a small oblivion.
Yeah.
Just so you could, you know. Anyway, David Cronenberg, right?
Totally.
So, not much of a practitioner when it comes to making other Christmas movies. I don't know if this is his only Christmas film.
I mean, it's a ho hot one.
Is yes. Well, certainly
Hot
there's
film.
not. Yeah, he's not made a body horror Christmas movie. That's for sure. But
I'd be interested to see that.
Eastern Promises is only just set during Christmas. I don't know. It just gives it.
It's
an
more
extra.
Christmassy than Die Hard.
Pretty much, it's up there. It's up there with your Die Hards. It's up there with your Home Alones. You know.
Yeah.
So
feel good movie.
Yeah.
Of the year.
Yeah, and it's non-disputable. It's not like all you Die Hard haters out there who are like, it's got nothing to do with Christmas. It's like, well, okay then, that's fine. Just just live in your own little private bubble.
Yeah, this one's not a question;
freak.
it's a fact.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here for. We're not here to beg questions.
No.
We're here to decipher facts.
Yeah, provide answers.
Spill them out into your lugs. Anyway, so David Cronenberg, right? So David Cronenberg. I've read a lot about David Cronenberg over the years. He's a firm favorite filmmaker of mine. I think I quite like him just purely because he has quite a unique voice, and I feel like his films are incredibly unique. And I don't like to bandy about the idea of the auteur or anything like that, because I kind of feel like it's an antiquated term now. Because there's not just one person responsible for the making of a film. There's crews and loads of people that need to be respected for the same thing. But yeah, he's if you want to bandy that thing about, he would definitely be referred to as that kind of filmmaker.
Yeah.
Just purely because of the uniqueness of his work. And he's a Canadian filmmaker. He's cited as one of the principal originators of the idea of body horror. And by body horror, it's mainly describing a very particular kind of horror in which it's very transformative. So the body goes through changes, mostly horrific, that require like it feels a lot more tangible and real, but kind of like has this sort of like inner eerie cringy quality about it that I kind of feel like you don't really get. I mean, if you want to just kind of talk about body horror in general, I mean, The Fly is probably a very good example of that.
Yeah.
That idea. Tetsuo, the Shinya Tsukamoto movie, is very much a body horror film as well, where principal character is changing and morphing into something else. So it's kind of Kafka-esque, I would say.
Typically very wet.
Yeah, wet. Yeah, wet, oily, drippy, bloody, gory, like kind of
Painful.
Yeah, painful, you know. But yeah, no, I think that's something I've quite admired about his stuff, and certainly I think body horror just as a genre I find quite interesting anyway.
What are some of his like body horror films that he's done?
I mean, Shivers is one, Rabid is one, The Brood is one, Scanners I would definitely say is one, Videodrome, The Fly is probably the best example, and I guess to like a lesser degree, like you have in elements of like Crash, but it's more that in Crash, it's not so much the it's a body horror experience, but it's kind of more like people are blending together in this idea of like broken bits of metal kind of coming together, juxtaposed against like you know, there's this sadomasochistic traits to these characters and things, so that's kind of more implied as opposed to being kind of directly kind of woven into that. But I think the fly is definitely probably the best example of that. It's the most clear-cut example, I would say. That's
a romance, and it's absolutely foul.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible.
I've only actually seen like a few of those, so that's kind of cool. That's something to look forward to.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that like he's had a very varied career, and I'd say because of the way that he focuses on certain things in his films can be quite polarizing. I would say straight up and honestly that he's definitely an adult filmmaker. You're not going into his work feeling like you're going to be all warm and cuddled up, you know, to what he's going to be depicting.
Right.
Most of the time he's dealing with some quite heavy shit. So this will be the longest filmography that I'm going to be spurting out here because we're covering Eastern Promises. This guy has been making shit since 1969. So let's get started. So in 1969, he made Stereo. In 1970, he made Crimes of the Future. Now, he is remaking Crimes of the Future. It's a short film. He is remaking Crimes of the Future for 2022.
Cool.
So that'll be very interesting. Shivers in 1975. I would probably say Shivers is his directorial debut.
Okay.
Because the other two films were short films.
Oh, right.
But this guy has been able to profit from the Canadian Film Council and get his funding through that. So that's kind of where he's been able to get his funding in order to kind of more explore these body horror ideas. In 1977, he makes Rabid. In 1979, he makes Fast Company. In 79 again, he makes The Brood. Now, in 1981, he makes Scanners, and I would say this is more of his breakthrough film, Scanners. Scanners are very popular and very, I think it's probably one of his most popular films, Scanners.
I've definitely seen that, and I like it.
Yeah, but again, he kind of tops it off in 1983 when he makes Videodrome.
Hell yeah.
And Videodrome is a very unique film.
Videodrome is awesome.
Yeah. In 1983, he makes The Dead Zone. Now, The Dead Zone has Christopher Walken in it.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember that movie being really cool. Now, in 86...
Isn't that a Stephen King written story?
Yeah, I think it's a Stephen King thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's got plenty of adaptations and stuff in his work. Now, in 1986, I would say that his most commercial hit, and that's The Fly. That's the Jeff Goldblum The Fly.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And that film's a commercial success. Huge. Now, slightly different to that, we have Dead Ringers in 1988, which I think is a very clever film.
You like that film, but I keep asking you to watch it, and you're like, I'm not in the mood.
Yeah.
I gotta be in the right mindset to watch Dead Ringers.
I don't know, like, it's kind of, yeah, I mean,
I've never seen it. I really want to watch it.
Jeremy Irons playing himself and his twin.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah, well, they're a pair of gynecologists.
It's on Prime.
Yeah. What you find with Cronenberg is he does have quite a lot of sexual themes running through his work.
And you know how I feel about sexual themes.
This stuff is kind of sexy.
I love them.
Yeah, it's sexy, but like they're sexual themes. I wouldn't say they're sexy. There's also
Either
the
way.
body horror stuff as well. Well, that's fine. Sicko.
Sign me.
All right. After Dead Ringers, we have Naked Lunch in 91.
Yeah.
In 93, we have Butterfly. And now in 96, we have Crash.
Oh, yeah.
Which I would say Crash is, I wouldn't say a pinnacle of his work, but certainly it's like a distillation of a lot of the things that he's been exploring as a filmmaker, and I think Crash just fucking nails it. In 1999, he makes Existence, which is
Jude Law.
very strange sort of film, very weird. I'm very kind of like,
They're like bone knives or something
look what
in that
it's
movie.
like a bone gun.
Bone gun.
It's a bone gun.
Wow. I haven't seen that
And it kind of
since it came out.
it kind of brings in some like virtual reality elements as well, because they have it's all kind of like mucusy and it's like that. It's like with the Matrix where they plug themselves in.
Yes.
And they plug themselves in through this like baby apparatus thing. They pull the tubes out of its belly.
Oh my gosh, I remember
plug
that.
into the back of their necks.
Can we put that on? I want to put that on my VR
Kind of like a video game basically.
playlist or my
It should already be on your VR playlist.
my watch list.
Well, I think I've maybe already put it on
with
there.
disclosure.
Yes, I
and
think
the
I've always
Well, maybe
brought up
not the net.
Existence. So I have 3 more films to go.
Okay.
And obviously when we get to Eastern Promises, that's where we kind of start. There's no Cosmopolis or any of that, kind of the later
That's
stuff.
later.
Yeah. So after Existence, there's Spider in 2002. Now one of my favorites, and I really like this movie, is A History of Violence in 2005, which is technically the prelude to what Eastern Promises is obviously going to be. And then Eastern Promises comes out in 2007. So yeah, I would say that I think they kind of see History of Violence and Eastern Promises kind of married to each other just purely because they've got Viggo in the leading role. But unfortunately, a lot of his films we will not be covering because they just don't really have explicit portrayals of the male anatomy in them.
Some of them do.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, when you go a little bit later, Cosmopolis does.
Oh, see, that's...
I know.
No.
It's not my favorite either.
No.
It's not my favorite either, but it is a potential for the podcast.
But either way, we are here. We're at Eastern Promises, Cronenberg's Christmas movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if I may say so, one of my all-time top favorite scenes.
It's pretty good.
Like,
the scene that we're going to be talking about today.
And I'm talking just in film in general.
Oh, really? Okay.
When I think about it, I love that scene. It's scary.
Okay.
It's very visceral. It's wet. It's bloody. It's scary. And it's vulnerable. Like, it's got all the things. And it's a naked Viggo Mortensen.
I'll have some things to say about it, maybe to its detriment. But when we get to it,
that's fine.
We can get there.
It's something that doesn't leave your mind. When you ask someone about, have you seen Eastern Promises? And you go, oh, is it that scene in the bathhouse? Yeah.
Well, here's my thing. When I saw Eastern Promises in the cinema, and that's the only other time other than watching it today for this episode. This is the second time I've seen the movie.
Okay.
So there were certain things I'd remembered, and there were certain things that I'd forgotten. I did not forget about the fucking snipping of the fingers. That was something that always would have remembered. In terms of like him getting all naked and stuff in the bathhouse, I guess like just because things like that just don't really compute in my brain if I remember seeing dick or not. It doesn't really faze me, but
even still, it's quite an intense, memorable scene.
Yes,
you don't really see stuff like that.
No, but
never seen anything like that.
Yeah, I would say the scene itself is relatively quite brave.
Okay,
Laura,
from Letterboxd.
Oh, from Letterboxd.
That's where I like to start.
Yeah, it's our haven of information. Letterboxd.
Yeah. A Russian teenager living in London dies during childbirth but leaves clues to a midwife in her journal that could tie her child to a rape involving a violent Russian mob family. So,
Right.
my issue with this synopsis is is how it seems like the pregnant teenager
is the main focus.
Well, and is specifically intending to leave clues
Yeah.
in her journal for the midwife, which is Naomi Watts, which is not true.
It's not
it
true.
just happens.
Yeah.
It's an accident. You know, this young teenager starts hemorrhaging blood while pregnant in a corner shop.
Yeah.
And gets taken to the hospital, and Naomi Watts, who's the midwife there, ends up taking care of her.
Yeah. It's
I mean, that's that part, but I mean, I feel like there's not much more to the story necessarily, but I think that Naomi Watts is trying to figure out where the baby belongs.
Yeah.
And then gets entangled in a Russian mob situation in London.
Thing is with Naomi Watts' character, and I guess like this is where I have issues, quite a fair amount of issues, I guess, with just like the script and the storytelling. It's just how kind of thin this line ends up being, where she decides she's gonna delve down this hole just purely because she also comes from a family that has either Russian relatives or Russian descent.
Her father was Russian.
Okay, well, her level of naivety, or certainly the level to which her blinkers stay on for quite a large portion of the movie, beggars a lot of belief, when certainly she should be well aware of how dangerous these people are.
It's, you know, I try to chalk it up to her having not like a mother's intuition or something, or protection over this child, but I think she just feels so bad. And also she had recently, you know, lost a baby.
Yeah.
So she's like, all right, you know, I'm going to take care of this kid.
Yeah.
And taking it upon herself. Really, in an inappropriate manner, first of all.
Yeah.
And an irresponsible manner.
Yeah, she doesn't do a very good job of it. But certainly she doesn't. I don't
she
think.
Gets it, you know, she gets it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Naomi Watts' fault, because I feel like she deals the role relatively competently. I just feel like the Stephen Knight script, the story that he has conjured up, I think there's a lot within the special features, and there's a lot within like the featurettes and stuff that we watched on the DVD, where they kind of feel like, or at least Cronenberg feels like, he's wanting to create this quite layered and interesting kind of insight into this quite unknown world. And I just feel like the story itself gives you those opportunities to do that. It's just so incredibly thin, and just a little bit kind of ends up shitting the bed by the time it finishes.
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I also find it odd that the story was written, script is written, you're making a film, you cast Viggo Mortensen, and then Viggo Mortensen ends up doing an insane amount of research into his character that ends up changing the film in a way.
Yeah, completely.
Where
almost.
It was more of a footnote in the script that the tattoos were a thing. It wasn't really explained, but then in the film, it ends up being an absolutely integral part of their characters and their life. And it's just odd to me. I mean, Viggo Mortensen ended up meeting with a Russian mob specialist and discussed with them the tattoos, and discussed with them, with this person, what kind of tattoos in his station he would have and what they meant, and kind of how to execute that.
Yeah.
And then Viggo goes to Russia.
Yeah.
Himself. He just goes just to do some research, learn a little bit more Russian, because he's very linguistically capable.
He's incredibly well cultured.
So smart.
Yeah, very smart man.
So smart.
Yeah.
But I mean, that changed, you know, and it kind of, it makes me wonder
how lazy the original script was.
Yeah, a little bit.
It kind of makes me feel like, because of the way the film is already, a lot of like, if you say like that's what he did, then I would have been like, I don't know how interesting the original film would have been without any of that content.
Without Viggo, this film probably wouldn't work very well.
No. There is a thing, like, I mean, it wasn't an alien concept to me going into this film that Russian gangsters use tattoos as a way to tell the story of their lives. Like, that's just a thing. But that's not unique particularly to the Russian mob.
Okay.
That's certainly very key to the Yakuza as well.
All right. Okay.
You know, where it's basically it's a stature that you're level within the organization, basically.
Okay.
And kind of like where your standing is. So it's not alien to it's not just specific purely to the Russian mob life. But I guess like the uniqueness I think they're obviously trying to bring to this is that you have a Russian mob contingent based in London. And that's where the focus is.
Right.
Which I think is okay. I think that's relatively quite interesting. But purely because it's set in London and they're dealing with this is where we're primarily highlighting and focusing on the human trafficking element of this side of the mob.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And what they're doing. So obviously they're trafficking young girls.
Yeah.
From Russia, from Ukraine, and bringing them over to the UK, and seemingly this is a problem. This is a real life thing.
Oh yeah.
But I'm assuming that's why it's called Eastern Promises, is that they're trafficking these girls on the basis of being like, you'll have a better life than what you have right now.
Of course.
If you come over with us to the UK. So
yeah.
That's quite sad.
It's horrific.
Yeah. And it never really shies away too much from showing you the incredibly dark side to this. I guess like that's very much a kind of hallmark of Cronenberg stuff, is that it is incredibly dark and unflinching, and it's incredibly violent. There are some elements of it that are It is rough. It is rough at points.
Yeah, and there's times during this film where I don't know, when I'm watching a movie and something really intense happens, I tend to just cringe and look away. I'm trying to get better at that, But there are some really horrible moments in this film.
Yeah.
And there's also some really funny points as well that maybe shouldn't have been so funny, but I think like the film begins and I feel like it really handles the tone quite well. And I think one of the main things, and this is I think Vincent Cassel and I think Viggo really fucking sell their partnership together, but also they really sell the idea that there's a hierarchy. Yeah.
And who plays Vincent Cassel's father?
I can get his name.
Yeah, so he plays effectively the mob boss who owns this restaurant. He's the restaurant owner. His role, I think he does a fantastic job of playing a relatively quite understated kind of mob boss, but he's terrifying.
Yeah, he's very scary. His name is Armin Mueller-Stahl.
Cool. Okay.
And that's not his character's name.
Because the thing is, he's like coming into this.
He was in the game.
Yeah. He came into this because there was a couple of interviews with him. He came into it already, obviously, with the basis that, Marlon Brando's already played a very similar character to this. Al Pacino's played a very similar character to this.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you bring your own brand of I will play the mobster boss,
How am I the top gangster boy?
Yeah, it's like how do I put a stamp on this role? And I think what he does really well, and this is something I've always kind of figured out from people who have an intent to hurt you at any sort of given moment, is that they pretend to be your friend before they decide they're going to strike.
Yeah.
And that is something I think he does very well. Yeah, I think he does a very good job, but the issue I have just overall is I think Viggo does such a good job, he fucking outshines everybody.
Yeah.
And as much as like even at points where you're like Viggo's just meant to be in the fucking background and not really say anything, he already outshines. It's like he just without purpose just fucking eats the scenery in every way he needs to go.
Yeah.
And I would say that one of the only reasons to watch this movie is for Viggo's performance through and through. If Viggo's not in this movie, the movie falls a little bit flat for me.
There's one other reason to watch this movie.
What's that?
And it's Naomi Watts on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I love Naomi Watts.
This is a film of accents.
Do you remember when I said just a second ago that I love Naomi Watts? I'm saying it again, just so everyone knows that I love her.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't even care if her character kind of sucks in this movie. She's still awesome.
Yeah, her character's awful.
She's so great to watch, and she's riding that motorcycle.
The material she's given is fucking
she's so pretty.
Thin as fuck. We're not really given a kind of like a breadth of view of London. Like we seem to kind of
you get 3 locations.
Kind of stick to like 3 or 4 different locations.
Restaurant, hospital, and then the edge of the river where they throw in their dead bodies.
Yeah, and Naomi Watts' house. That's really about it. And then a kind of smattering of like tiny little places that we never see again, but they're just not really worth seeing.
Yeah.
Like they're not memorable. So really kind of what we get is a very kind of insular and quite kind of cocooned kind of story. But really what it is that, and certainly what drives the story is Naomi's character has obviously got a hold of this poor girl's diary. And she's got her uncle who's Russian to help translate the book, and at first he's quite reluctant to translate it because it's kind of like you don't mess with dead people's belongings if they weren't entrusted to you.
They take their secrets to the grave.
Yeah, they should bury it with them. And to be fair, yeah, they probably should have. But the thing is like what is in the diary is basically a very stark description of this poor girl's life and what's happened to her. And certainly the reason she's pregnant is that, I mean, it's not even the bread. Like, she's raped by the mob boss, and they've tried their damnedest because a pregnant girl's obviously no use in the brothel. So they're obviously doing things to her, hurting her. She does eventually escape, but unfortunately they've done so much damage to her that she dies during the childbirth, so...
You know what's interesting is that when you really think about it, this entire journey that Naomi Watts goes on is completely useless. Nothing happens.
Yeah, nothing
like
really
all
happens.
she does is get in herself in trouble and get the baby in trouble. If she hadn't have looked at the diary and if she wouldn't have said anything, there would have just been a little baby that would have gotten adopted by a family.
Yeah.
And Naomi Watts would have continued doing her job.
Yeah.
And then they would have continued being the mob.
Her level of naivety throughout the whole course of the story.
I know, you keep mentioning it, and I know. Her character sucks. Whatever.
Her character does suck.
She does get a little tiny kiss from Viggo Mortensen at the end of the movie, and I really liked it.
That just made me roll my fucking eyes. Like
they
when
had
that happened.
excellent chemistry.
No, they didn't have excellent chemistry.
They had wonderful chemistry.
No, they didn't.
They did. I loved it. I thought we would have made a really nice romantic couple.
The thing is like, I like the level of depth and focus we're given to the mob characters and their day-to-day lives. Now, I question a few things in the script that obviously are there to kind of like incite a level of drama into it. So like they knock off one of the other captains in the group and there's no reason for it. That obviously pisses off other members of the mob who then come looking for Vincent Cassel, and obviously, you know, at this point Viggo's an underling as well, so they're all involved and embroiled in this, you know, mob behavior.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. But it's very interesting, and certainly from the scenes that Viggo gets, I mean, the most stark and revealing of them all is that one where they've murdered the guy. He's frozen in this fucking freezer, and Viggo's in there, and he's like, "Yes, I'll take care of the body." And he basically is like, he's gonna snip off the fingers. He's gonna take the teeth out. He takes a hairdryer to the body. And I guess, like, it's the nature in which he approaches this, like, this job that he's doing.
Yes.
Is what's incredibly fascinating about it.
Yeah,
you know?
It's, he's very meticulous, and he's like an old pro. And what's even more interesting is, like, you know, what's revealed towards the end of the film is the fact that he's
Well, I think it's more in his nature. It's less so much about like what we end up finding out what he is. It's the nature in which he approaches these things.
Okay.
You know, it's the same to like making a cup of coffee in the morning. Like that's what it means. Like it doesn't mean anything to him. Like that's what's very interesting about how he approaches this role.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, guess like what you're trying to say is like by the end of the movie, and this is like after the dick scene happens, I don't give a fuck about the rest of the film. The rest of the film's like it just like
Well, it's
falls into
also
a toilet
only
bowl.
maybe like 15 minutes left of the movie after the dick
Yeah,
scene.
it's like it rushes towards the end to just like wrap some things up without really explaining anything. But yeah, you find out he's fucking undercover for the police, and it's silly. It's silly as fuck.
He's been undercover for a very long time.
Yeah, there's like a Russian section at Scotland Yard or something like that, and it's like, right, okay, whatever.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, so I think if you go in there and you're like, okay, and you just kind of disregard the last 15 minutes, I think you can be treated to quite an interesting insight into this world. As long as you can stomach a bunch of the stuff that happens.
Are you done crapping on the movie already? You crapping on Naomi Watts?
No, I wasn't crapping.
Crapping on the story?
No, I'm not crapping on.
Pooping on it.
I think that
Still a good movie.
it's fine.
I have a question for you.
What's that?
Have you ever met a girl named Tatiana?
Yeah, I like to make love to girls called Tatiana.
Oh, well, there was one that was raped and she's dead and also had a baby.
Oh, I don't know her.
You never met anyone. You never met anyone named Tatiana.
No, I haven't. No,
Oh,
that's
weird.
true. No. That's a scene in the movie. Like, and that's the thing. Like, that's the one thing where it's kind of like life and death to these guys. Like, it's completely second nature. So, like, the way that they approach things, you'd be absolutely fucked. It'd be like, that's abhorrent. He just like laughs his fucking way through these sorts of conversations.
I mean, how are you gonna live otherwise?
Yeah.
Laugh or cry.
Yeah, but like I think I mean they do a really good job with like the dialect and just the way it's kind of like a mixture. They're speaking English, but sometimes they mix in a bunch of Ukrainian and also some Russian and stuff into the same sentences. So,
I like that a lot because I really
Yeah.
hate when, I mean, it is just troubling, you know, when you
Yeah.
watch a film and everyone's got, you know, if they all just had Russian accents and spoke English the whole time, I'd be like, why? Because when you're with your brethren and you're with people that do speak that language,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you just speak that language?
Yeah, you would.
You definitely would.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice they go back and forth, and
Yeah, well, I think it's 'cause
it
they're-
seems
yeah.
more real.
They're primarily
In that
in
way.
an English speaking country, so they will kind of dip in and out of it
Yeah, absolutely.
for the most part. So I think that's pretty.
And
I
then kind
thought
of
that was
mix
pretty
in
good.
words like at the end of a sentence and kind of mix it in all around. I thought that
Yeah.
was a good choice.
Yeah. Leading into the dick scene,
Viggo's getting a promotion.
Viggo's getting promoted to a captain.
So
he's
instead
getting
of
his
being
stars.
a car driver, chauffeur, driver.
Well, I think like, he calls himself the driver, but I think he's like the body disposer
Yeah.
and also the fucking muscle.
Yeah.
As we find out.
Yeah. And so he gets a promotion from Papa Mob Boss, the bad boy,
So basically,
rapist.
the mob bosses all meet together, and this is a really interesting scene. This is why this is where the film kind of has moments where it shines. Is that they all meet. This is all completely in Russian as well, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And he sat there just in his underwear, basically exposing all of his body, and his body's covered in tattoos.
Yes.
And basically, the tattoos say certain things about his life and how he's come to be. So, like, where he went to prison, where he did this, where he did that.
You were a thief?
When
Yes,
he first
I
killed a
was.
man, blah, 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 blah. And this is like, I mean, again, I think this was maybe unintentional. But then he starts talking about like his parents, and he says like about his father. His father worked for the government and things like that. Blah blah blah. One of the mob bosses goes, "Well, your fucking father was a fucking coward or whatever." So he's
He's
like,
like, I don't have a father.
He's like, I don't have a father, basically. And then, like, they're having one conversation, and there's this like I'd say the little mob boss guy with the mustache. They're just having a quick conversation. And he goes, "Your mother was a whore."
Yeah, and then
the-
the guy sitting next to him is just staring at him like, Jesus, Greg, what's your
Yeah,
problem?
it's like, calm down.
It's like so angry. And he's like, yes, I do not have a mother.
Yeah, but there's been things like there's certainly a little bit more depth to Viggo's character because he's had little moments of respite all the way through the film where he's shown a level of mercy and he's lied to, like, you know, Papa Mob Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that before.
It's
That
almost
little
this-
look.
yeah. Almost as funny as his pronunciation of Edinburgh.
How did he do it?
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
It's like,
At the Caledonian Hotel. Well, there ends up being a situation where newly promoted Viggo is invited to bathhouse
dig scene.
to chat about work and job stuff, you know, and he gets invited by a guy who had recently been blown off by Big Papa Mob Boss.
Pretty much, yeah. I told him not have any issue with him with his family again.
Yeah, he's like, stay away from us, whatever.
This is also a character who doesn't have any tattoos, so for whatever reason, he's not like intrinsic to this, that he owns like a barber's. This is the same place.
Maybe he's
where
like a logistics guy.
the captain
The
was
money
knocked
laundering
off.
guy.
Yeah, for whatever reason, he's been in this kind of situation, obviously. So, for whatever reason, the brothers of the person who was killed have come to him, and they've tricked them into thinking that Viggo is the Vincent Cassel character who ordered the hit before.
It's getting very convoluted, but basically,
In short,
Viggo's gonna get attacked.
Papa Mob Boss is the one that ordered the poor hit on Viggo, and Viggo is going to get attacked in the bathhouse.
Yeah. And this is quite a long scene, and it's very intense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these two brothers come in with these kind of hooked knives
Yes.
and just really go for Viggo.
Mm-hmm.
And Viggo had been sitting in the bathhouse, obviously in a towel, because you're in like a steam room, like you're in a Russian bathhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And that towel just drops. Instantly drops.
Well, the thing is, he's sitting down first of all, and the camera tracks into him because he sees the people coming in from the door that's on the other side of the room. There's also another couple of guys who are in the steam room as well.
Those poor men.
Yeah,
Those poor men.
It's pretty funny. But he's sitting. He's got his legs splayed wide open. You can already see his dick at that point. But then, obviously, when he goes to do the fighting, he is completely naked, and this scene lasts for a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
It's a very long scene of just kicking, punching, elbowing, knives.
Yes.
He's getting slashed with these knives. Back and forth. They're running around, throwing each other around on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really horrible. It's really quite horrible. There's just blood everywhere.
yeah, he gets cut at least 3 or 4
The
times.
face, on the
gets
chest,
all
on the
fucked up.
back.
But what it is, and I think what I guess kind of we'll go into context and things, what justifies this and it feels a little bit more original is the fact that he is completely fucking naked, he's completely exposed, and it's very visceral and it's very revealing.
Yeah.
And it's it feels like some of the things he does, and I wouldn't say it's the most violent thing you've ever seen in your life, but it feels incredibly raw. Which is something that I quite appreciated about it. And I think because of Viggo's bravery within portraying this character and just being completely naked, is that you can just see everything and everything that kind of happens.
Yeah.
And I guess the only thing that I would say to the detriment of the scene and the thing that kind of pulls me out from it a little bit, it's just some of the use of the punching sound effects.
Really?
Yeah, they sound a bit stock and weird.
I did not notice that.
Yeah,
I'm just too worried about him getting cut with that knife.
Because I always
And just looking out for his balls.
I always like a good fight scene that strays away from your fucking Rockies. You know what I mean? Where it I want it to sound like it's hitting packed meat or something. It doesn't feel like it's the whoosh kind of hit. It doesn't sound like fucking Batman 69, you know? I want it to feel a bit more real. Because if you punch someone in real life, it doesn't sound like that. It doesn't sound like you've slapped a wet fish.
I've never punched anyone in the face before.
It's like, it's about as stock as the Wilhelm scream. I think that's the only thing that kind of prevented me. Plus, I mean, the scene itself, and this is more probably a Cronenberg thing. I think the scene is just a little bit too bright.
Oh.
I wish it was just a little bit darker.
No, I don't disagree. I think it was just as bright as it needed to be.
Yeah. But there's a lot of claret getting flung around. Viggo does some horrible things to these men.
Yeah.
Like, he kills them in a very, very disturbing fashion. And he does it all completely stark bullet naked.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because that wasn't a part of the script. It's not as though it was written in the script that Nikolai goes in there, then ends up naked and fights naked. It wasn't in there. It wasn't in the choreography. But I guess Viggo and Cronenberg were having a discussion one day, and Viggo goes,
It makes sense.
I got to do it naked.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because the towel wouldn't stay on.
No way. It wouldn't. If it
on.
stayed on, it'd be a magic towel.
And if it was
I can't even get the towel to stay on, like, like in regular life, let alone when I'm fighting for my life.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I was just like, I wish this towel would stay on when I was fighting a couple of guys with knives in the bathhouse.
Yeah,
you
but
know
no,
what I mean?
you just got to get it done.
Yeah, crazy.
It was a 3-day shoot for that bathhouse scene.
Yeah.
And Viggo got massively bruised. Like, he got real hurt. But he didn't tell David Cronenberg. He didn't say anything, but only the makeup people knew. Because they had to patch up his bruises every day.
Viggo's one of those guys, though. It's like he was like on the set of Lord of the Rings, like a knife went and came towards him, and he drew his sword, and he was able to deflect the knife away from himself.
There's that scene.
That guy does some shit.
There's that scene where they were chasing Merry and Pippin in was Two Towers, and he kicks an orc helmet on the ground, and he breaks his fucking foot.
Oh, right, okay.
And that's the shot that's in the movie, and he screams. And he's probably screaming because he broke his foot, but he just made it into like his frustration scream, and he like went to his knees.
Yeah, this guy does some
badass.
shit. Yeah, he does some shit. But
Viggo Mortensen's really cool.
Viggo's awesome. Yeah.
There was like a movie he was in where he really liked his horse, and they got along so well, and he bought the horse, and now they're best friends.
Yeah.
He does music and stuff.
Yeah.
He's cool.
Yeah, he's like a fucking Renaissance man.
Yeah.
You know, but
I got a lot more to say about this dick scene.
Oh, do you?
That's my whole page of notes.
Oh, okay.
Is about this dick scene.
Carry on.
There was a reporter for Ain't It Cool News, apparently, that Cronenberg ended up finding this article that this guy wrote, who was totally obsessed with Viggo Mortensen's balls.
Oh, okay.
He was like really weird about it. And so there was an interview with Cronenberg, and he said, it wasn't like there was a close-up of them, but this guy was obsessed. He even wrote big hairy balls, like in quotes. And he's like, they're definitely there as you would imagine, but it's only if you're looking like for them frame by frame, and you're going to see everything at one point or another. And of course, a lot of the time it's going to be slightly blurred because he's in motion. I mean, yeah, fair enough, but it's not like it's not one of those 1 hour photo type of moments where you have to like pause and go like, did I see a dick? Like you're like, I saw his butthole, I saw his balls, I saw everything.
Yeah.
And
why
wouldn't you?
Yeah, he gets himself into some precarious positions, like
Absolutely.
doubled over on the floor and stuff like that. So
there's a part where he's like on top of the guy before he stabs him in the chest, and his balls are on the guy's leg.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to be.
Yeah, of course they are.
Because, why would you shy away from that? But I think that's what happened a lot of the time when they were filming it, is that Cronenberg would just let them do it. And he would just film it as it happened. Yeah. Obviously.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not over directing like what's happening.
And we're not talking about like it's not gratuitous.
No.
At all. Like it's the fact is like, and this is the reason why this scene kind of works a little bit better, is that it's all like everything's all in the right place, and nothing's too, I guess, like exaggerated or focused on for too long.
No, you're just watching the scene as you would expect to see the scene unfold.
Yeah. And like the drama of this scene is what's projecting it forward. It's not what we're exposing ourselves to in terms of it's Viggo Mortensen naked. Like, it's
It's
not
qu-
the
it is quite
focus.
shocking.
It's not the focus
and
of the
quite,
scene, though.
startling, not shocking in
Yeah.
a bad way. I'm just like, hell yeah, that dude's naked. It's my
Yeah.
favorite thing in the world. But it makes sense, and it wouldn't make any sense if they tried to. You wouldn't be in a bathhouse wearing anything
Yeah.
other than towel anyway, unless you stapled that shit shut.
Yeah.
That thing's coming off, baby. And if they only shot that in a mid, up
Yeah.
from his torso, you'd be like, what the fuck is this?
But here's my other thing, and this isn't to go against, like, Ain't It Cool News.
I just
but-
love that Cronenberg just like really honed in on this guy who's like, why
Yeah.
does he keep talking about Viggo's balls
Well,
so
the thing
much?
is, and like, whether or not Cronenberg's saying it directly or indirectly, this is a prime example as to why certain things happen in the film industry is because of press response to it. His response is effectively like it's a red card to basically be like, well, just don't have folk naked and seeing it in future films because of fucking asinine, stupid responses like this.
Yeah, there's
You know
not
what
going to
I
be
mean?
the dude from Ain't It Cool News that's going on and talking about someone's big hairy tits or whatever. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, it's ridiculous.
No. And the thing is like, okay, like making
Hairy
the
tits.
separation. Yeah. Right, okay.
Sorry.
Because obviously that's a thing.
I
But
don't know.
like, it's press response to, I guess, this, like, there's a creative reason why actors decide to take on roles like this and to perform in the way that they perform them without having to be under the scrutiny and the eye of the press bearing down on them, looking for something that they can exploit for the public to then digest afterwards. You know what I mean?
Viggo's like a consummate actor. He's a dude that gets it done. He goes above and beyond
Yeah.
all the time. This isn't, I don't think this is the first time he's been naked in the movie. He's been naked in like at least 3 films.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, he's a man that's comfortable with himself. He's a man that's comfortable with his craft, and he's going to do what it takes to get it done.
Yeah. I just think that responses like that don't help the situation.
No.
Because certainly if you're looking to try and create some level of balance, and certainly I think now more than ever, like, you're looking at TV shows and films that use prosthetics or they use stand-ins more often than not, then
We're looking at you, HBO.
Yeah, pretty much.
Stop. Can't be like, oh, we've got penises in almost every single first episode of all of our new shows now.
Because of asinine responses like that, and I feel like that's just the media in general, and that's not very specific or particular to like what we're covering on the podcast, because at least I feel like how we cover things on the podcast is we look at the art of it, and certainly me more particularly, I look very much at the kind of scrutinizing the context and like the reasoning for it, because as much as I feel like
You're saying that I don't look at that?
no, I think you have to defend certain, like, you have to if we're defending the exposure of, say, male actors within the medium, it also extends out to female actresses in the medium as well. I feel like we're being very protective of it.
Right.
You know, and I don't feel like that level, like the level to which a performer takes a role, shouldn't be exploited in the press to the point where they then have to fucking think twice about why they're doing certain things. 'Cause I feel like performing and acting in general is a very instinctual thing, and because it's so instinctual, that's why you have this individuality. That's why you have a Viggo doing a role like this, as opposed to Viggo doing, I don't know, a Jack Black role or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we are with it, and I feel like you have to protect them from stupid responses like this.
Yeah.
Because I think they're just daft. Because it means nothing. It means nothing.
No.
It's just a quick quip for a couple of fucking clicks on your website.
Yeah.
Celebrity gossip, all that. It's all dross.
Yeah.
And you're digesting crap. You
No,
know?
I 100% agree, because
Yeah.
I still think that having more of an equality in terms of nudity in cinema is getting better, but
Yeah.
still a joke.
I feel like
Especially the fact
there's
that like
equality.
all of the men I'm not talking about all of them, but like how you were saying with the prosthetics that are becoming more and more and more common, especially on HBO, is I think it's a problem.
I'm not saying so much that it's a problem, but I feel like it's reactionary to the fact that people don't want to, like individuals themselves don't want to feel exploited. And I feel like because we live in such an age now where the media is 24/7, it's always available to everybody, and people's views, or at least people feel like their views need to be heard every which way. But we're all entitled to one. In this vein of what we're talking about here, in this bubble, it's enough to dissuade someone from pursuing in their craft the way that they felt like they could before.
Well, here's the thing, like why I'm complaining that I do think that the prosthetic thing is a problem. For example, Steve Zahn in The White Lotus, like that first episode of that show on HBO, there was nudity. He knew there was nudity, and he thought he was going to do it.
Oh, did he?
And yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, oh yeah, with Mike White.
Yeah,
the director.
White show, yeah.
He's like, oh no, you don't have to do it. We'll get a prosthetic. He goes, oh, okay, so I'll just sit there. He goes, no, you don't even have to be here.
Yeah.
Steve Zahn's like, oh, all right, cool. So that's less work for me to do. But you have actors that are given an opportunity to do something like that. Not that they necessarily want to go in and whip their dick out or anything.
No.
But when it's just like women don't really have the opportunity to get a prosthetic boob or like a prosthetic vagina.
That comes down more to an argument of like what frames you use when you're filming them. It's a lot easier to film a man from the waist up and not have to show us anything than it is to show a woman
right,
in a
of
close-up
course.
than from the shoulders up, because of the emotional responses you get from the different kind of frames. Wider frames are used for comedy, closer frames are used for drama. That's just the kind of way it's always been. But I would say that, I guess, like, because of the world that we live in now, and this is me kind of generalizing a little bit, is that because we feel like people get offended so easily to the simplest things, or even any sort of passing comment, there's this, I guess, like, there was already this presumption. Let's take the Zahn White situation just there. I feel like there's already a presumption that he wouldn't want to go through with it because he wouldn't want to put himself in a jeopardizing position, so to speak. You know, a closed set environment where you've got your director, your cinematographer, maybe one other person there, primarily kind of focusing on, you know, certain elements of Steve Zahn's body. As much as he might have been okay with doing it and getting it done, that's an environment some people don't want to find themselves in. You know? And
yeah,
I
that's
feel
fine.
like,
And then you can have a body double, and you can do that for women too. I'm not saying that that's not an option.
Yeah.
But I just do
It's
think
less
that there's
likely,
the idea for the general public, and obviously I'm generalizing, about what a man's penis looks like.
Yeah.
In general. So you have a general idea, like if you close your eyes and you imagine a penis, it looks like this. And so when you put a penis on screen that looks any different from what the general idea of what a penis looks like, I feel like it people don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, or but even though, or maybe it's not that the people don't like it, I think it's more of like, it's like a general perception that the penis doesn't live up
to expectations.
Yeah.
You know? That's us kind of, we're moving back into this media thing. But let me put it this way. There's always been a thing around like celebrity culture and interest, and it's like, I wonder what her tits look like. I wonder what his dick looks like. And the minute you kind of do that and you label it a certain way, is like where I feel like you obviously kind of, it crosses a line from privacy, intimate privacy, into something else, where it becomes this like kind of obsession of celebrity culture.
Okay, yeah.
Which we've always kind of had, because obviously technology is moving forward. There's more outlets, blah, 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 right? But certainly I would say there's a reason why certain actors don't do certain roles or perform certain duties. And I feel like with women, it's so much harder for them to escape the idea of nudity, is because of like what I just said, is a lot.
Absolutely.
It's a lot harder for them to hide their boobs in a scene if the shots are wider, you know?
For sure.
Because of where obviously breasts themselves are situated on the human body. It's just, you know, it's whatever, okay? Where it comes with a man, yeah, I feel like it's kind of, it's like there's a level of bravery, but I just feel like for the most part, they just don't want to deal with any level of backlash to like, is it too big? Is it too small? What does it look like that for? Like it's a very kind of different thing. And I feel like women have to deal with that as well. And certainly this idea of like body image.
100%.
And it's just a bit sickening.
It is. And I just want a little bit of equality.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's all. And, you know, thanks, Viggo.
Yeah.
For being yourself.
He did a good job in this one.
Viggo had said that during the shooting of this particular scene, he would come over and Viggo would be like sprawled out in between cuts and Cronenberg like, oh, sorry. And he'd make like an inappropriate joke and then walk away and then just be like, oh, let's do another one. Trying to just keep it kind of light and breezy, even though this is like really intense and really difficult, that scene. But Cronenberg would just try to make light of the whole thing.
That's how he's always approached, I guess, like not even like that, but like just his sex scenes and stuff. Because Adrian Lynn had the exact same approach. It's like the only way you kind of stop something that's, because it's very uncomfortable, like you're kind of naked or you're doing these things like in a situation and you're also surrounded by like, you know, 20 crew members or something at any one time. Yeah. Certainly under the scrutiny in the eye, you know, because it's not, you know, and then it's like you got to make sure that you're fucking like performing well enough within the frame that you're told you have to do it, and you have to make sure that you're catching your light well and all this sort of stuff. You're not
doing like a Tommy Wiseau from The Room, just like having sex with someone's lower thigh.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, no, I think it can be. I think you have to lighten it up, and also you need to just guarantee and make sure you reassure people that while they're in a situation like that, that what they're doing is working and it's going to look right when it's all put together, you know?
Yeah. So there aren't any accolades. There weren't any awards, really. At least none of the big hitters. It was nominated, but Viggo was nominated for Best Actor at the Academy Awards, but he lost to Daniel Day-Lewis for There Will Be Blood.
Of course he did, because Daniel Day-Lewis does not lose.
No, he doesn't.
So that's that man.
He's method. If he wins, he wins.
Yeah. You know, he does. Yeah, no. Well, that's the thing. He does not break character until he wins. So.
And if he doesn't win, he's just that character forever.
Well, it was a lot harder for him to get up onto the stage when he was getting his award for My Left Foot. Let's put it that way. So
that's why you thanked everyone while holding it between his feet.
Pretty much, he had the fucking microphone between his toes. Yeah. Not to say anything about people, certainly, because it's a true to life story, and that was the thing. It was a fascinating film with a fascinating character with some very lovely paintings. So please don't fucking attack me.
Just making fun of Daniel Day-Lewis.
It's a joke, you fucking monsters.
Let's jump into our ratings. So, do you want to give me your visibility and context rating?
Probably like maybe 4.
Okay.
Because I like the way this scene plays out. Yeah, no, I can't put my finger on it. It kind of reminds me of something else, but I'm just not too sure what it is. But
okay.
Let's say, I'm going to say a 4, because I do like the scene. I think if you watch the scene, but you don't listen to the punching sounds, I think it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd say about a 4. About a 4, because it all makes sense. There's a reason why he's like that.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I completely agree. I gave it a 5.
Oh, okay.
I gave it a 5. It's got longevity. The context is, although the context is rough, it is an absolute necessity. And
makes sense.
I mean, I'm being congratulatory of Viggo Mortensen, but just because I think he deserves it. And everything in this movie that is good, or at least that kind of sticks with you, was his idea.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So good for him. And he really put his mark on this film. And and it shows and it elevates this film.
Yeah.
And it elevates this scene, which
Well,
who knows what it would have been like without him, and I don't want to know.
Yeah, no, I think he's a massive contributor to the film.
Yeah. And what about your overall film rating?
Oof.
0 to 5.
Yeah, so no, I gave it a 3. I felt a 3 was quite generous though, just
Damn.
because it becomes if it just focused on the mob and that was kind of it, and we just kind of showed how fucking horrific the whole thing was, and I like the idea of following Viggo's character a little bit more through it, just to kind of get an idea of the juxtaposition between, you know, kind of the slightly more edgier sort of gangsters, and he's obviously got a slightly softer side. It's just a shame that like what's revealed near towards the end, and I don't like Naomi Watts' character at all. You feel like it's just kind of been pissed away, and it's like, oh, okay. But luckily, it's only in the last like 15 minutes.
True.
So,
yeah, I gave it a 3.5, and it's funny that when we're breaking it down, and you really do realize that all of this was for nothing, and it's just weird.
Here's the elephant in the room. By the time the film ends, she has the baby.
She does take that baby.
She has the baby at home.
And I don't know what happens in hospitals when there's just a baby that needs a home.
Uh-huh.
Do you just get to pick them?
No.
I don't think that you do.
No, they get...
She has to go through the system.
They go through the
system. And she has to be, you know, an eligible foster parent or an adoptive parent. And that takes forever.
I don't need an extra 20 minutes added to the movie explaining how she got the child. It just... The way that it's not like say that edit in fucking 2001 when they threw the bone up into the sky and it goes forward like fucking 3 million years into the future. All I wanted was an idea as to she's fucking helped deliver this kid. Now she has the kid.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
No
sense.
Because I don't think that's it definitely isn't how it works. But I don't know.
I mean...
It's fine. I couldn't have gone any other way. It's not like you could have wrapped up the film and she's just hanging out with her mom and uncle again, alone. You know? She's going to end up with a baby. You know she's always going to end up with that baby.
I mean, yeah, like I say, like their
racist uncle.
He's very racist. That whole kind of family, that whole idea, like kind of the more I analyze it, like I wish it wasn't. Can
you imagine that, like on the
film
on the adoption application, and they're like, oh, okay, so what's your job? Oh, I'm a midwife. Where do you live? Oh, I live with my mom and my uncle. Yeah. Like, okay, like, do you think maybe, you know, have a place of your own? Where is this baby sleeping? Like, it just seems strange.
Yeah, it's strange. It shouldn't happen.
I feel like the adoption people would go, I don't think this is a good idea. Things are like you're too entangled and you're putting a lot of your feelings on this kid.
But I feel like a lot of this stuff
doesn't deserve it.
A lot of this stuff that we're kind of like very nitpicky about and that we don't really like particularly much, I feel like, because all the original crap that was in Stephen Knight's script, and Stephen Knight also wrote that Serenity movie, and it's easily one of the worst fucking films ever
Not
made.
the Serenity that's the sci-fi movie that's based like the
Firefly. Yeah.
People are going to hate that I don't know the name of that. I never watched that show.
Yeah, like I think there's some really shining moments in Eastern Promises, and I think there's an unflinching nature about it. I kind of feel like it kind of falls a lot into some tropey, kind of mediocre nonsense, and I feel like a lot of the flourishes are really all to do with the mob stuff, which is far more interesting than some of the things that are in the film.
Just say that I love Naomi Watts.
Okay.
I love her.
Cool.
So
then go watch fucking King Kong then. I mean...
Oh, I will.
Yeah, there's all 3 hours of that.
Watch Mulholland Drive.
There you go. It's another 4 hours you can add to your Naomi Watts.
She's in so many things that I love.
Look, I've got no problem with Naomi Watts. I have
what was that movie that she was in here with... It was like they were like moms and then they have sex with each other's sons. Have you heard of that movie?
Okay.
And it's called Adore, Adore, not like, I'm going to open a door.
A door, like sliding
It's
doors.
Naomi Watts and Robin Wright. Uh-huh. And they both are single mothers. Yeah. And they've got 2 sexy sons. Oh, God. And they end up
You
having
said that right, okay.
sex with each other's kids.
Oof, all right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it sounds crazy.
I loved it.
Is there a dick in it, though?
No.
Good, we'll never cover it. So, we didn't cover a fantastic film, but it led to some interesting discussion, which I think
It's still
important.
fairly good. You know, I still think that this is worth watching.
It has a high rating on Letterboxd.
I didn't even ask you if you would recommend it.
Yeah, I mean it's
not very long.
It's not very long.
It's like an hour 40.
I think like I guess like the suspension of disbelief in some of the things that it kind of doesn't come from Vincent Cassel and Viggo Mortensen, because all of that stuff, all the mob stuff feels solid as fuck.
Yes.
I love that shit. I love like looking into that stuff. It's just unfortunate that Naomi Watts is in that whole family dynamic that she has, and like the way that it kind of snakes its way through, and it's like the weakest part of the film. I would watch it purely for Vincent Cassel and Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah.
They're solid. Like
they are.
That stuff's really good. Like they deliver. Viggo probably more so, but
I don't know, Cassel's awesome.
Cassel's real good.
He's very scary.
Yeah, he is scary. He's also really good in La Haine, which I know you've never seen.
It's true.
So that movie
He's
is
also
very
in
good.
a Full Frontal All-Star. Just check the website because I added a bunch of stuff that he's in. So
He's also in a couple of those Ocean 11's movies
yeah,
as well.
very familiar face.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? My very last tidbit that I had written down was that back in 2013, Cronenberg was actually in pre-production for the sequel to this film that was based in Russia with
Okay.
both Viggo and Cassel, and it was called Eastern Promises 2.
Hey, look, at least he's got the balls to actually put a number on the movie as a sequel. Not like now where you've got to guess if it's a sequel or not to the...
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Like, they've got horrible fucking subtitles. Like Venom. Like, Venom's not Venom 2, it's Venom Let There Be Carnage. Like, the level of confusion. Like, I would just
I thought it was Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage.
Nope, it's just Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Oh, whatever. It doesn't need to be a sequel. It just can be another Venom movie. Why can't it just be another Venom movie?
Because I like there to be numbers so I know exactly what I'm watching.
You like there to be numbers?
Yeah, because that's what I grew up with.
You grew up with numbers?
Yeah, well, why? Everyone likes Speed, right? Everyone likes that movie. But no one's wanting to watch Speed 2, Cruise Control.
No fucking duh. Why? Because it doesn't have a number in front of it? No, because it's stupid.
No.
I cannot believe that Speed as a film works.
Hold on. I hadn't finished what I was going to say.
Sorry.
It's just like shitting all
getting
over
upset.
it all. Yeah. But look, there's Speed, right?
Yeah.
And then there's Speed 2, Cruise Control. If you're like, say your grandmother goes in there and you're like, I want Speed for Christmas, right? For whatever reason. And they fucking pick you up Speed 2, Cruise Control. What if it didn't have the 2 on it? They'd just be super confused. And they're like, well, look, it must be this one. It must be Speed, Cruise Control. No, it's not. It's the fucking shitty fucking sequel to the Speed movie that they obviously did want. You know what I mean? What's all this idea of like subtitling everything? Just put a fucking number on it. Rocky did it perfectly fine. Friday the 13th movies, actually no. Yeah, Friday the 13th movies they did it pretty well. They put numbers on everything.
Halloween didn't.
Nightmare on Elm Street didn't. But then they had like other ones like Wes Craven's New Nightmare and stuff that were like kind of standalone things and all this other sort of stuff.
It's a good one.
Yeah, at least Friday the 13th, at least they fucking stuck to it. Even when like Jason X came out, it was still the fucking 10th film. It doesn't matter, right?
Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, and at least Fast does it. I mean, the Fast movies are like, some of them are pretty bad, but you know what you're going into, right? But at the same time, at least they have
All
the decency.
good.
They have the decency to fucking number them so
Perfect
you know
films.
exactly what you're watching, and it's not a confusing minefield mess, you know?
Okay, so the reason that we don't have Eastern Promises 2 is because the now former CEO of Focus Features shut it down.
Okay.
But as of December 2020, that the script, or at least the idea of the Eastern Promises 2, has been turned into a Jason Statham vehicle, and it's called Small Dark Look.
Okay.
And the director is a Danish director called Mark Zandvoort. Valette.
Okay.
But there's no news on that ever since like
It's because
it's gonna die. Like
nobody cares.
No, it's not gonna come out.
Nobody cares. It's not Eastern Promises 2. And plus, when they say things like it's a Jason Statham vehicle,
I know. I wrote
like,
that. I wrote that myself.
All right. Well, look, it's
no
like,
one said that except
how many
me.
How many films is that man made that are almost completely forgettable? Countless.
0.
All right. Whatever. So
Crank 2, high voltage.
yeah, at least that's got a number on it as well. So at least you know it's not just Crank High Voltage. See, look.
They're both really good though.
Yeah, they're both really good movies. I haven't got any problem with them. Yeah, look. Anyway, we're done.
Thank you, Ryan, for talking with me today and our Christmas episode.
Absolutely exhausted.
And happy Christmas, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah,
Have a great New
happy
Year's
for this year to end.
And yeah, make sure to buy a used copy of Eastern Promises and give it to all your family this Christmas.
Yeah, they'll really appreciate it.
Yeah, they'll love
that. Or at least
that.
put it on your Christmas viewing list.
Yeah, put it along with Die Hard and Home Alone and The Apartment.
Jingle All the Way.
Hell yeah, Jingle All the Way.
Just like pop it in. It's good family fare.
Jingle All the Way.
Eastern Promises.
Such a good movie.
Yeah,
And yeah, great. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah.
And have a good one. And
toast with your eggnog to Viggo cutting off some fingers.
toast with your vodka.
Your eggnog is Christmassy.
Right, but you put your vodka.
I know, put
in
some
the
vodka in the eggnog, man.
eggnog.
I don't know, just fucking do whatever. It's just
Eggnog's
Christmas
really
reference, right? Whatever, right? Okay. Close it up.
Coming to you from the Trans-Siberian Restaurant, I have been Laura.
I'm Ryan.
Thanks, guys. Merry Christmas, and we will see you next year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Goodbye.